Throughout history, there have been many brutal and barbaric torture methods used to extract information from a prisoner. The rack was used to stretch Guy Fawkes, and this is remembered as being one of the most notorious methods. But one of the most feared is waterboarding, in which a victim has a piece of cloth covering their face, and then they have water poured over it. This leads to the victim to be experiencing a feeling as if they are drowning, and it has been used for many centuries and in some of the most major conflicts across the globe. It's viewed as one of the most brutal torture methods in history, and was used by the Americans in Vietnam, by the British during the Troubles, and by the Germans and Japanese during the Second World War, amongst many others. Welcome to the Fortress. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. The definition of waterboarding in a secret American CIA memorandum states that, in this procedure the individual is bound securely to an inclined bench, which is approximately 4 feet by 7 feet. The individual's feet are generally elevated. A cloth is placed over the forehead and eyes. Water is then applied to the cloth in a controlled manner. As this is done, the cloth is lowered until it covers both the nose and mouth. Once the cloth is saturated and completely covers the mouth and nose, airflow is slightly restricted for 20 to 40 seconds due to the presence of the cloth. During those 20 to 40 seconds, water is continuously applied from a height of 12 to 24 inches. After this period, the cloth is lifted and the individual is allowed to breathe unimpeded for 3 or 4 small breaths. The procedure may be then repeated. The water is usually applied from a canteen cup or a small watering can with a spout. You have informed us that it is likely that this procedure would not last more than 20 minutes in any one application. Because of how horrific it is often considered a very controversial torture method, and those who have experienced it last a matter of seconds because it simulates drowning and the desperation and panic then kicks in. It has a brutal mental effect and can still traumatise victims years later, and some were so badly affected they could not take showers, and some even began to get stressed when it rained. One man who experienced the treatment for an experiment claimed, "You may have read by now the official lie about this treatment, which is that it simulates a feeling of drowning. This is not the case. You feel that you are drowning because you are drowning, or rather being drowned, albeit slowly and under controlled conditions and at the mercy of those who are applying the pressure." Often a victim is laid on a board when this treatment happens, and it became illegal under the laws of war with the Third Geneva Convention of 1929, which required that prisoners of war should be treated humanely. But as mentioned, this is not a new torture method, and it was used throughout history to a large extent. One man who suffered this in the 16th century stated, "Master Hans took water. During the entire time a cloth had been laid on my face, and holding my nose shut with one hand, began to pour water on my abdomen, and then all over my breast, and into my mouth. Even as one should drink when he is very thirsty, I think that the can from which he poured out the water held about 3 pints, and when I was at the end of my breath, and wanted to fetch such, I drew the water all into my body, whereupon I suffered such distress that it would be impossible for me to relate or describe it. But the Lord be forever praised, he kept my lips, and when they could still not obtain anything from me, they caused the cord which was on my thigh to be loosened, and applied to a fresh place, and wound it much tighter than before, so that I thought it would kill me, and began to shake and tremble greatly. He then proceeded to pour water into me again, so that I think he emptied 4 such cans, and my body became so full that it twice came out again at the throat." Another man who was subjected to waterboarding claimed, "Water flowed everywhere, in my mouth, in my nose, all over my face. But for a while I could still breathe in some small gulps of air. I tried by contracting my throat to take in as little water as possible, and to resist suffocation by keeping air in my lungs for as long as I could. But I couldn't hold on for more than a few moments. I had the impression of drowning, and a terrible agony, that of death itself took possession of me. In spite of myself, all the muscles of my body struggled uselessly to save me from suffocation. In spite of myself, the fingers of both my hands shook uncontrollably." Following the September 11th attacks, the George Bush administration in America stated in secret documents that they believed that waterboarding was not torture. Because of this, it was used against captured members of Al-Qaeda who were linked to the attacks. This information got out and caused a significant degree of controversy, and many claimed that waterboarding was illegal under international law, and a victim would say practically anything to make the ordeal stop. But it has to be one of the most barbaric torture methods in history, and it can cause damage to the lungs, as well as other severe injuries, such as brain damage caused from the deprivation of oxygen. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.